this is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs, and we're back in the kitchen today because I was asked if I had a polymer clay simple design for the awareness ribbons. And here's one that I'm wearing that I made. This is a butterfly, and it has the pink and the teal and the purple for thyroid cancer awareness. This one is a white heart, and it has the pink ribbon for breast cancer awareness. And then I also made a couple like this. There's the 3 colors for the thyroid cancer awareness, and of course I made the pink one with a little bit of white in it for breast cancer. Now, how to do this and the supplies that you need, I'm going to tell you, but also it's on my blog, and I'll put that blog link right down there in the notes like I always do underneath the video. And on that blog is a chart that I found, and on that chart it has listed all the cancer awareness ribbon colors. Now, for a lot of the other ones, you'll have to probably Google it because there's just thousands and thousands of awareness ribbon colors. I'm going to show you how to make this style and something similar to this style, how to add a ring if you want it on there, and also how to make this chain to put your little pendant on. And you're going to need some supplies. Now, I always use Sculpey clay because it's my favorite. You don't have to use the Sculpey. It's Sculpey. I always call it Sculpey. It is Sculpey. It is my favorite to use. It's like $2 at Hobby Lobby or Walmart. Both have it, Michael's, and also Joann. So it's really great. Make sure that you get the clay that is a baking clay. Okay? You're going to need that. You're going to need some sort of a rolling pin. And I always tell people if you don't have a rolling pin, you can use a smooth glass or jar that doesn't have any labels on it or anything. Just something to roll it out, because we're going to have to roll some out. And you're going to need some little cookie cutters. And someone asked me what size these little cookie cutters are. We're going to be using this butterfly and this plastic heart. These measure about 1.5 inches at the widest point. So that kind of gives you a reference. They're between 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And you can find these at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, and also any place that sells baking supplies. Just remember to keep these separate from your baking supplies because these can have the residue from the clay on them. Okay, the other thing you're going to need is something to poke a hole, because when we make this kind, we don't need a hole. Our string will go right through there. But when we make this kind, because I'm going to show you how to do both, you're going to need to be able to poke a little hole to put the jump ring through. And the size of the jump ring that you're going to need is right here. Let me pop on my glasses so I can read that for you real quick. This is a 12mm round jump ring. And this is the size that I use for my pendants. I like this size because it's big enough to get through the hole, but I can also manipulate it with my fingers. I don't have to go and get my tools out for jewelry making. Okay, so that's what you're going to need. Now, you're also going to need some sort of yarn, and you can use any weight yarn from a 2 to a 4 weight yarn. This is a 2. And you'll need some sort of a crochet hook, and I'm going to be using the G. The G is a 4.25 crochet hook. But you can use any crochet hook that you have on hand. The size of the chain is sort of up to you how thick you want to do it. The other thing is, if you don't have a crochet hook, I'm going to show you how you can do it just using your fingers. So that'll be nice too. All right, so those are things that you're going to need. Now, there's some other things, what I call optional things. For instance, how do we put the gem on the ribbon? And you're going to do that by some gems. I've got a whole bunch of different sizes in here. I like the little round ones. That's what we're going to be using today. And you'll need to attach that with some glue that is E600. And you can buy it in a big tube and a little tube. I like buying a pack that has 3 or 4 of them in it. That way it's easier for me to use, and I'm not dealing with a great big bottle when I'm doing a tiny little dot of glue. And to put that glue on, I just use a toothpick. And the last thing that you'll need is the fingernail polish. Now I know a lot of people don't like to use fingernail polish because they think it gets sticky. I use the Sally Hansen Hard as Nails in the clear. I have never ever had any trouble with it getting sticky. The thing is, you need to buy good nail polish. If you go buy the 69-cent nail polish, it's not going to work. You need to buy this Sally Hansen Hard as Nails in the clear. All right, that's everything we're going to need except parchment paper. This is your friend. I use it for my work surface and also to line the pan that I'm going to bake my pieces in. All right, so how do we bake them? You can use your big oven or you can use your small oven. I'm going to be using my small oven today because I'm just going to bake a couple of pieces. Either one works. You need to set your oven at 275 degrees to warm it up because we want to put them into a preheated oven. And then we're going to bake them for 15 minutes when we're ready. So what you need to do is go ahead and preheat your oven to 275 degrees and then get your clay and your supplies out and we'll get started. So here are the ones that I made. Here's a heart with the pink ribbon. Here's how to make just the ribbon with the gem. And then this is a butterfly with the pink, teal, and purple ribbon for thyroid cancer awareness. But I thought it would be interesting today. We're going to be using a dog bone and we're going to be using purple clay because we're going to be making a ribbon against animal cruelty. And I thought it would be fun, since it's Posh Pooch Designs, that we would make a purple ribbon, and we're going to mix it with a little bit of this silver, and then we're going to make one like this with the purple and the silver, and then we'll make the dog bone out of the solid silver and put a purple ribbon on it. So we're going to have a little fun. So the first thing that you need to do when working with polymer clay is wash your hands. Make sure you wash it with a nice mild soap like a Dawn dish soap. Rinse it real good and dry it real good. You don't want any residues from any food or lotions or soaps left on your fingers. The next thing you need to do is make sure that you have parchment paper or something down on your work surface, and then prepare your pan by putting a piece of the parchment paper in the pan that you're going to use. All right, so now I've got my cookie cutter here. And we'll set that aside. And the first thing that we need to do, or I should say the next thing, is we need to begin conditioning our clay. So I'm going to set those aside. I'm just going to show you. When you open your clay, it's going to be really hard. And you need to knead it and knead it and knead it and knead it. And get it activated and ready to work by just kneading it until it's nice and soft and pliable and easy to use. The more you knead it up and make it nice and soft, the better your polymer clay items turn out. So once you have your clay conditioned or ready to work, just roll it into a little ball and use your rolling pin to roll it out. If it sticks a little, you can use a little cornstarch, but just use a tiny, tiny bit. This rolling pin that I have here, I got in the polymer clay area in my local Hobby Lobby, and I haven't ever had any issues with it sticking. So we're going to roll it out till it's about 1/3 or maybe 1/2 inch thick. I don't like mine to be too thick, but if you get them too thin, they don't hold up as well. So there's my flattened out piece. And I'm going to use my cookie cutter, make it into a dog bone. I always take the outside off and then sort of press out the middle. Alright, so there is our dog bone. And I'm going to go ahead and use my pokey thing. You can use a toothpick or a knitting needle, anything to make the hole. So I'm going to try to make it right there in the center. And remember, it has to be big enough to get a jump ring through. And I turn it over and make sure it goes all the way through. Alright, so I'm just going to set that aside. Make sure my hole's nice size. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and set that on my pan, set that aside. And then I'm going to get my purple nice and conditioned. I'd already been playing with this one, so it won't take too long. And I'm just going to pinch off a tiny piece, little bitty piece, about the size. That'll work. So we're going to roll it, and we're going to start rolling it out into a little snake or cane. And we want this to be pretty small because it's going to fit right onto our dog bone that we just made. So we'll continue to roll it out until it's as thin as we want it. And see how tiny it is on this one? That's how tiny we want our cane to be. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of that off again and keep rolling. All right, I'm going to bring my dog bone back out here so I can kind of see how big I want it. We're just going to make a little curl. And this one I'm going to put over here on the side. So I'm going to make that curl a little bit smaller. And a lot of this particular portion is eyeballing. And then I'm going to make it fit. And I'm going to kind of curl it that way. And sometimes you can make them where they're kind of sticking off. Now, if you want it to stay rounded like this one, how the whole thing is rounded, you can leave it. If you want it to be flat, you can flatten it out. Now I'm going to take the end of this and I'm just going to cut that edge off. There we go. Clean that up just a little bit so it looks pretty. Looks like I made a little bump there. There we go. And there's my Against Animal Cruelty dog bone with the purple ribbon on it. All right, so let's say we want to make one that looks like this. We can take some of this purple and a little bit of this sparkly silver gray that we already have, and we'll roll it into 2 canes. And the size of this is completely up to you. You can make it big like this one, or you can make it little like this one. Let me pull those back so you can see it. It's up to you. That's upside down. There we go. So it just depends on how big of a pendant that you want. All right, so let's roll our canes out. And this is going to be too much, so I'm going to take some of that out. Go ahead and start rolling the silver one. So I've rolled them out quite a bit. I'm going to put them together. I'm going to give them just a little bit of a twist. We want to mix them but not blend them. I don't know if that's backwards or not. We may want to blend and not mix. We want the colors together, but we don't want them to mix and change into a new color. So we're just going to squish that in, and we're going to start rolling out another cane. And see, both colors are in there. And if you want to make it a solid purple, or say add the orange, because the purple is for Against Animal Cruelty and the orange is for Against Animal Abuse, and you could put the purple and orange together and that would be really nice too. All right, so there's my cane. I'm just going to take it and make a curl there, push that together there, and that's where we're going to put the gem after it's done. And then I'm just going to use the end of this. Now if you don't have one of these, you can use a plastic spoon or a plastic knife just to do those edges. Just clean those up a little bit. And I usually just use my finger and kind of round it down. And that's all you do to make one like this. Now this one's a little bit bigger and I think the things are too long. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it again. And I'm cutting at an angle. Yeah, that's much better. All right, so it's all ready to go in the oven too. So I've got my dog bone here with the purple ribbon on it. I'm going to make it look a little prettier there. And then I've got this kind. We're going to put these in the oven. It's already preheated to 275 degrees. And we're going to bake it for 15 minutes. And then I'm going to show you how to put them together in a necklace or a bracelet, or you can even put these on your dog's collar. While those are baking, I'm going to show you how to add the jump ring and how to make the chain. And of course, the jump rings that we're using are the 12 millimeter round jump rings. And I bought these in Hobby Lobby, but you can get them at any craft store or jewelry making section. All right, so we're going to take the jump ring, and just with our hands, we're going to just open it, just like that. And you just ease it down over the top and put the ring right through that hole, and then we just put it back together and just use our hands to squish it back together. That's simple. That's how you add the jump ring to the one without a jump ring, or without a hole that's big enough like this one. All right, so that's how we're going to do those. Let me set those aside and show you how to do the chain. Now you can use a ribbon, you can use lace, leather, suede, whatever you want to make the necklace portion of your pendant. But I like to use yarn, and anytime I can incorporate yarn, I love it. Now you can just take the string of the yarn and make it go through and tie a knot if you want to, but I want to make it a little bit more substantial. So I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to make a slip knot over my finger like this, put my hook through that loop, yarn over, and pull that right through the loop. And I'm going to do it very loosely. That's why I said it didn't really matter what size chain, or what size hook I mean, that you're going to use. Now let's say you don't have a hook. What do you do? All right, so let me pull this back out. To make the chain without a hook, you make the slip knot again, and then you're going to use your fingers, so you're going to have to use a little bit bigger loop. And all you're going to do, whoops, there we go, is you're going to take this finger and put it through the loop and pull the loop down. And you put your finger in, bring the loop down, and then you take your finger and grab the loop. And it takes a little bit longer, but this is a great project to do for, like, say, groups of kids that want to make things for fundraisers. This is a great fundraiser to do for any of the cancers or any of the, say, dog rescues. You can do them with the dog bones. Now this is a little more time consuming if you do it that way, so I'm going to go ahead and use my hook. And the amount of chains is completely up to you, how long you want to make your chain. Now make sure that you make it long enough to get over your head. And you can also do this as a bracelet if you choose. So you're going to make a chain, just chain, 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 that's all it is, until the chain is as long as you want it. If you're making the chain like I did, once it's long enough, you can check it by putting it over your head. You just yarn over and pull that string through that last loop. And I always go back and snug those edges down. And then we're going to put the two ends together. And we're just going to tie a couple of knots. And this is just going to keep it from coming undone. And we're just going to cut those off. All right, so now you have a chain. Now there are two ways to do this. When we do the jump ring, we can just open that up a little bit, slide this onto the jump ring, and then close it. That's the way you do with the jump ring. Just open it up, slide the chain in, and close your jump ring. All right, but on the other one, we can't do it that way because we didn't add any kind of a jump ring. So what you do when you add it to this style is you just take your chain and you put it right through that hole like this, and you'll have a little loop down here, and you just take the end and put it through that loop, and it just hooks on just like that. My two polymer clay pendants are done baking, and so I need to let them set, and I'll go ahead and show you. how to do the gems and the polish while these are cooling. Now I do suggest that you don't add any elements to them until they've rested for about 24 hours. I usually bake them one day and then go back the next day and add all the fun embellishments. So I'm going to set this one aside. All right, so how do we add the gem like this one? What we do is we take that E6000 glue and I bring up a bubble and I just add a little dab right to the center. Now I have a toothpick, just to make sure I get a nice round circle on there, because that's where I'm going to put my gem. And then I'm going to pick up my gem and set it right on that E6000 glue and give it a good press so it stays on there. Now a friend of mine said she always uses hot glue. But the problem with hot glue is if you decide you want to wear this out in the sun, hot glue will get melty because hot glue really is just plastic. And this is the best glue that I have found for adding elements and different embellishments to my polymer clay and also my crochet items. E6000, it takes very little and it's really not very expensive either. So once the glue dries on your gem, it's time to add a little polish. Now you'll notice this one has a little bit of glitter. And what I do is I'll add the glitter polish that I have first, and then I'll add the clear. And I don't have any of the glitter, so we're just going to go with the clear. And I love to use the clear, and I only put it on the front. And I love to use this Sally Hansen because it is a good sturdy polish. Make sure you get the clear hard as nails. And it has a little brush so it makes it easy to put on. And again, I always wait, at least 10 or 12 hours before I add any more embellishments after I add the gem and the polish. And because I want it just to sit and be beautiful. And that's exactly what you do. This one just has the clear on it. This one just has the clear, and then this one actually has the sparkle and the clear. So you can see you can do it either way. And that's how you make awareness ribbons that you can add to a cookie cutter, shaped polymer clay piece, or just by itself. This is a great project for fundraisers. It's a great project for group crafts because it's easy and it's fun. It's a great way to teach kids how to chain, or you can use ribbons like I said. It's just a fun project, and I really had fun doing this one.